Welcome to the DevRead podcast, where we're helping non-techs build great tech. So we've got a really fun topic. We're talking to Marco, who is the founder of TechDell, assisting in strategy and a bit of business optimization, and even taking more commercial and growth aspects to that. But I've got a background in product development at places like Ferrari, of all places, which you don't hear very often. And we'll dig in a little bit around that. And we got a remark as well. So some really fascinating things around product development in the world of cars, supercars. So Marco, thank you for joining us. I'm sure it's going to be a bit of fun. But let's dig in. Let's talk a bit about you, your background, and how you got into the world of engineering and product development.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Hi, Anthony. Thank you for
Right.
inviting. It's a pleasure to be here. My background is in Ferrari. I started my early career in Ferrari, and in the testing department. So that's really where the cars are made. So they take shape from the concept until production. And I stayed in Ferrari until 2018, where I managed to be part and develop some of pretty interesting vehicles. Started my career actually with a LaFerrari.
Oh,
That was the
nice.
first
Oh, wow.
hybrid. Yes.
Yeah.
So I was a young test engineer. So I was mostly focused on the issues back then, and then as you grow, your responsibility grows, and then your career, and then from LaFerrari, then I moved to the California T. Then I took the 812 super fast, and then I left Ferrari at the end of 2018, during the SF90, the last hybrid, or the first hybrid of the new generation. Amazing car. I had a possibility to drive it a few times as a benchmark later in my career, and it's an amazing
It would
product.
be
Yeah.
amazing to be behind those things. Not a bad place to have a bit of fun as a car enthusiast, I would imagine. Did you
Yeah.
always interested in cars, always fascinated by vehicles, or was it just something you fell into?
Or did you grow up
So,
near Maranello?
So I did not grow up in Manila. I was born in Sicily actually, and I moved to Turin to do my masters, and then to Chicago. I had a double degree program. I participated in a double degree program that was sponsored by the Polytechnic of Turin. And in Turin, the automotive industry was pretty strong because we had Fiat there, no? And I remember when I left to Chicago, I had a very clear thing in my mind that was I will never work in an automotive company ever.
Just went to
Be-
one of the biggest ones in the world. But anyway, yeah,
But then, because I thought it was, I had some insight, some possibility to see how Fiat was working, and it was this big organization, very bulky. Everyone was kind of working on a very small part of a project, and it was not fascinating to me. But of course, when I came back from Chicago, the first I got hired in a big consulting company, and of course, I started working in an automotive company, and for a couple of months. And yeah, I thought, yeah, I was right. I don't like working in the automotive company. But then in those 3 months, let's say I delivered a project that was very successful, and as a reward, I was brought to Ferrari, and that's
oh,
when
there you go.
things completely changed. Ferrari was not working as an automotive company. Ferrari was working more as it was the perfect balance of a startup, a small enterprise, and a corporate business all together, with all, I think, all the best of each company size, because it was fast when it was needed to be fast, and structure when you needed that structure that supports the development. And I do love racing. I do love everything that goes fast. So Ferrari really fits in my
Yep.
in my passions. But I actually ended up sort of mistake by mistake in Ferrari, and I loved it. Some of the most complicated product that you can ever make, really.
Was there a big difference between Fiat being like assembly line production factory versus Ferrari and sort of like the craftsman and craft
Absolutely.
mentality? Because it's a lot smaller production, built small batches, a lot more handmade.
Oh,
I'm sure we've all
Absolutely.
seen the mega factories on
10,000
Ferrari.
cars a year, give or take. They're not making
Yeah.
heaps,
No,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
on
it's not
purpose.
Fiat where they're producing
Yeah,
hundreds of thousands of
yeah,
vehicles.
they
It's
did that
different.
on purpose
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Yeah,
correct.
it's 10,000 across different models. So every model, if you think about it, goes like less than every model. The lifespan is around like 3,000 cars, the whole model, across maybe 3 4 years. So really, the production speed is very slow. The difference is dramatic, and it has two points. One is, of course, the craftsmanship is very high, and it gives the product a certain value that you can't have, of course, in a Fiat, and it requires also a certain set of skills if you want. At the same time, when you work with such a low volume product, you have more, let's say, leeway to when developing the product to make sort of mistakes. Because if let's say tolerances, just to name one something that everyone can understand, tolerances can be, let's say, a little bit more loose on a Ferrari project, because if you have to drill an extra hole in a frame, you have the time to do it in a Ferrari production line. Whereas in Fiat, you have those 5 seconds to screw in the bolt, and if the hole doesn't match the bolt, then it's over. It's a stop of production. So it's more loose. It's more risk prone. Let's say the development part is more risk prone. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not as much probably tooling for automation with very precise, repeatable processes because there's the human factor involved a lot more.
There is, of course, because after all we're talking about cars.
Yes, yeah,
So it's not, let's say, but for certain vehicles, such as like LaFerrari, for instance, very small production. It was 500 units, less than 500 units, and in across several years. So one car, I think it was, at the end it takes maybe 1 week to make it, something like this, maybe 3 days. So for those cars, yes, you don't build automation. There is no point.
no point.
But for other cars, such as, let's say, F8, then yeah, there is some sort of, maybe not automation, but support from machinery for sure.
Yep. And what part of sort of what issues or product design were you working on when you were there at Ferrari? Because you mentioned testing, but will that be
Yeah.
testing the vehicles or is it like testing the software that's run? Because now cars are very heavily automated internally with the computers.
Yeah, so it is luckily for me, and that's what kept me in Ferrari. After all, it was 360 degrees, the whole car. So from tires to software to the steering wheel. So the idea that it works. So you start from a very early stage prototype that we call it muletto. It's like a mule. Where you start testing, where you start
It's a mule. I
testing.
love it. Call the Ferrari a mule.
It
Not a
is.
name that
It
goes
is.
with Ferrari
It
very
is.
well.
It is actually called a little mule.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
Even
yeah, little
better.
mule. And
Classic.
so you start from so different prototyping stages where you increase the value, the let's say, maturity of the components within the vehicle. So you start from the most complex one, that is the engine. Then you integrate the chassis parts, so suspension, the frame, and then you start adding the bodywork, and then finally you finalize with the softwares. Softwares are from HMI to traction control, ABS, every kind of software. And the reason why I said, it kept me there is because unlike other places, my focus was in the integration and testing of the whole vehicle. So whoever has my role carries the validation and development of the whole vehicle, including performances, including, it used to be like this, at least now it's a little bit different, but yes, including performances, validation, and reliability. So you were responsible for the whole vehicle. So there are cars that I know inside out very, very well.
So then you're responsible for like the final sign off.
Yes, correct. Yeah,
So
that's
very
right.
It's
important
like a
role.
startup, right? And it's a massive important role, like a startup founder. You got to do everything and be the
Exactly.
end to end. You need to understand all the bits, the parts, how it all comes together to be able to achieve that. Which is everything's different. Every day would be different too. I'm imagining you'd have different problems that come up. How do they manage problems in such a small environment like that in the world of Ferrari?
Well, it is like a startup in terms of focus, meaning that you really have to do and know how to do everything, or at least know a little bit of everything, at least how to talk with the experts. Unlike startups, however, you can rely on a very strong team. Over there, everyone is really at the best of their role, and therefore how you handle problems. I funny fact, one time I was having my yearly review with my let's say my boss, and they told me, because I had two bosses, one was for the team and one was for the testing, let's say. Those were my mentors, if you want. Actually, I learned so much from them. But they told me, Marco, you need to learn how to be worried when you have problems, because it seems like you don't give interest. You are not affected when there are problems. Then after 2 days, you come with a solution, but for those 2 days, no one has understood whether or not you have understood the severity of the problem. And my reply to
Interesting.
that, I replied, why would I be worried? We are Ferrari. If we can fix the problem can be fixed. So I never relied on entirely on myself to do things. I actually am. This is something I really learned in Ferrari, is the strength of the team, and also understanding the weaknesses of each team player, and play along with them. No, this I think may help me a lot in my career and getting things done. So problems are, back in the days, back when I was there, problems were addressed depending on who was facing the problem. This was my way of facing problems, relying on the experts, relying on the team, and working together to fix a solution.
Because you've got a team there that's at the top of their game in every aspect.
Understands every aspect of the vehicle in
And
finite
I'm
detail.
assuming
Right?
every new car development is effectively like building a startup, because it's from scratch. Here's a concept, or LaFerrari hybrid. Haven't done that before. What do we do? How do we
LaFerrari
approach
was.
it?
Oh my God, LaFerrari was LaFerrari, and the SF90 after that. It was very LaFerrari was a very complex project, but in very small units. So, like I said, you have no, I'm not saying room for mistakes, but it is easier to take care of a small volume product. SF90 on the other hand, big production volume. It was very, very challenging. 70% of the bomb was actually new components, which is suicidal for a
That's
for a
significant, yeah, when you're moving into a new
yes.
product, you start from scratch almost.
So,
Oh,
and
wow.
and it is like a startup. You have to. That's why nowadays I migrated into helping startups and SMEs too, because once each product, each vehicle, you have a set of underlying risks, underlying problems that will pop up at one point along your development, and you have to make sure that those risks don't don't kill you along the way, that you deliver in time and in budget, because anyway, of course, you have a limited budget that is always less than you wanted, of course. So you want to make
That's the
sure
world
that
we live in, though, isn't it?
Even a Ferrari.
yes.
Yeah, even a Ferrari. You wouldn't think a
They
Ferrari
can
should
write their own
end
price tags and they still have a worry about that.
It is a business after all. So, and you give money to engineers. We can burn as much money as we're given.
Yeah.
That's how we work. So constraints are, I understood, are very important for people like me, because you tend always, and you guys understand. You tend always to get things better. You want to, there is always improvement to be made.
There's always tweaking you can do.
Always, no. So you want to have a sort of moment where you say, okay, this is good enough. And understanding what is good enough is really, I think, a part of skills that I learned in Ferrari, to understand when it's time to stop a certain activity and move on to make, instead of having 70% of the project done 100%, having 100% of the project done 97%, so to speak. Make sure the car is complete, and maybe not as perfect as you wanted, although it is, the bar is very high, of course. So
The bar is very high, yes.
97% might be 120% in some other places, but
maybe 500% in some other places, yes.
I think
the bar is quite high.
You've probably seen as well with the SMEs and startups that you've worked with, Michael, that a lot of them may spend a lot of time refining and tweaking their product, and they don't get to market fast enough.
Yeah. I think this is one of the biggest, or the most common, let's say, not mistake, but it is a mistake after all. Yeah, because we as product developers, we get in love with our product, and we understand, we know, and we think that we understand what the market wants, but sometimes, and unfortunately most of the time, the way we see the product, the way the market perceives that are completely different, and delaying the feedback from the market because we are trying to make the product better according to our own point of view, unfortunately is delaying a very important piece of information, that is the product market fit, how well the product will be sold. And so, because we are not academia, business is about selling stuff. Unfortunately, that's the world where we are in. No, I'm not necessarily enjoy that, but those are the rules of the game. So we need to make something that the people like, and delaying that, it happens most of the time. It's comfortable though, no?
It is. In the world of Ferrari, I was going to say, in the world of Ferrari though, I don't think there'd be many opportunities to get user feedback before you develop a product.
Oh, absolutely. We take tons of feedback. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
On existing cars or on new designs?
Both. So there is
What's the approach there? It's good for people to understand this.
It's secretive
For me,
normally.
I think you just build the car.
It is pretty. It's the same. It's the same like in every other industry. It's just instead of testing, putting out a beta version of your software, you have a prototype. But everything starts from a marketing brief so through their analysis and the understanding on the market, they come up with a user persona. No, it's ultimately is a user persona. So we need to make a car for, let's say, a successful entrepreneur that is in his 50s, already has a few sports car. So this is kind of, so we give a shape to our customer, to our driver, and we shape a concept around that. Then as we move forward, there are in development. So we go through the muletti, the mules, and then we have prototypes and more more mature set of vehicles, we get different set of people in the car, and we lead. This was one part of my tasks as well, was understanding this feedback. Initially, you have feedback from internal teams, so we have expert drivers that have been driving all the Ferraris. We used to have the test driver that was there since 40 years, so it's been on every Ferrari that has ever come out from Maranello's main gate.
Amazing.
Yeah, and
the history that has been around.
It's really as Italian as it gets, guys.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating. And together with many other drivers, everyone may be expert on different fields, and you focus on, issues, but also vehicle character in a way. Then once the car has a shape, then you start inviting people. There are maybe major dealers or very well-known customers, that have this specific invite. And then my role, or the role of people in my position, is to lead the interview to understand not how good the car is, but how bad the car is, what the weaknesses. If my weaknesses are perceived as weaknesses from the public or not, and if not, you move on. If yes, you work on the weaknesses.
It's a good way to cut the line there and not tweak things that don't need to be tweaked. That's how you stop at 97% and not make it 110%.
Yeah, exactly. And it is really exposing, not guiding them to your weaknesses, but exposing the weaknesses, so that make sure that I know that if a car has a weird behavior on a certain pothole, let's say, I will ask him. I will ask him to drive in that pothole, but not telling him why. I will decide a route so that he drives on that pothole. If he doesn't say anything, I don't have to worry about that.
You're okay.
And as you go after, and after you move forward, you have then a journalist. You do the media test drive, and usually the final part is always software tweaking. Software doesn't have lead time, so there is you can really. Nowadays, you can really shape the character of a vehicle with a few lines of code.
And then you've probably got a lot of over-the-air updates, so you can do releases in the software to tweak things after the fact as well, potentially.
Yes. Back in my days, let's say, over-the-air was not yet because of cybersecurity was not yet implemented. I lived this era in Rimac in Bugatti. It was groundbreaking for me. So yeah, you can, and when it's fully electric, so really the response of the vehicle is what the driver feels, rather than the noise, the sound of the car. That car in the Rimac was literally. You change the software, you change the car. So and this can lead to very late changes. Across in the development timeline, so you can gather a lot of feedback.
Because Rimac is complete electric supercars.
Yeah, it is. 2,000 horsepower.
So
it's just 2,000 horsepower.
It's not much at all.
No.
But I find it interesting that the approach that when you start designing the vehicle, creating with a marketing brief, is very similar to, I think, Jeff Bezos at Amazon. So whenever a new product is pitched at Amazon, they also start with a marketing brief and a customer fact page. They don't start with an idea. They have that persona and...
There's even a press release, I think.
Like a press release type of idea.
This is a press release
and that's how they pitch
around the
products.
concept.
It's an interesting approach.
You have to go. I think if you start from the end, and then you trace back your steps, it's easier than going in your direction and hoping that you end up.
You stumble across something that works. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense.
What took you to Bugatti after Ferrari?
Well, so
that's another big name that people will be familiar with.
It is. So I left Ferrari because for personal challenges, let's say, my career was going very well. I was very happy. Ferrari was family. Still I'm in touch with many people there, and I owe to Ferrari a lot. But I was wondering whether my career and my success was coming from myself, or it was just being lucky at the right in the right place. I
Okay.
was just so I said, how can I prove myself if I'm as good as I think I am? I just quit, sell everything, and go to Southeast Asia. And that's what I did. That's what I did. So
Wow.
I went for 1.5 years backpacking around the world, trying different things. I even worked on a yacht as an engineer to try what the life as an engineer on a yacht was. Cross the Atlantic on the yacht, so it was
Oh
pretty
wow.
cool.
Oh wow.
On a yacht.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. And then, but I realized that I was missing the challenge. Making a car is very challenging. Honestly, it's one of the most complicated product that you can think of, because of the integration of very different systems with very different development life cycle, if you want to know. So you have hardware with short lead time, hardware with long lead time. You have software, and you have production manufacturing. It's very complicated. And I was missing that. Honestly, I was missing that, and working with a team that you can really feel invincible. And so I said, okay, I want to go back to the automotive. I had two opportunities. One was in Formula E. The other one was Bugatti Rimac. Rimac at that time was not Bugatti yet. Actually, we worked to make it become
To acquire them.
Bugatti.
To get it
So
to
it,
Bugatti. Yeah, nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it was just a young team of young engineer, very smart people, very driven, an amazing visionary that wanted to make the fastest car in the world. So I said, okay, you know what? I've made cars already. Here I had the opportunity to contribute to developing a company, a whole
Something from the
team.
ground up, right? Which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
exciting. Yeah, it's new, it's
So,
innovative, it's exciting.
and it was in Croatia, and I was at the time again. I was traveling. I traveled a lot in that time, so I never lived in that part of the world. So I say it might be fantastic to use Croatia as a base and then travel, around the Balkans. Except, of course, I joined, and 1 week after we went in lockdown because of the
Oh,
COVID.
right, through
So
COVID. that changed everything, didn't it?
yeah, so no
Yeah.
much traveling, just
Yeah.
but it was okay. We were making the car. It was so I didn't miss traveling. Focus on the car, on the company. Built new relationships, built new teams. Um, Really bringing you can't really apply, of course, the same rules that you follow in Ferrari in a team like Rimac at that time, because the experience, expertise is different, the budget is different, everything is different. You are I had to adjust a lot my understand what were the key pillars that made a car, and what were the key pillars, and instead we're making a car a Ferrari, but not necessarily should be brought to Rimac. So it was
Yep.
very fascinating, very challenging, but it was just personal development that brought me to Rimac. Yeah.
Was it the imposter syndrome? Did you feel that it
I
wasn't
think
you,
so.
or you thought you were good enough, but you weren't proving yourself enough?
No,
There's two
I
different
really
ways to
thought
sort of look at it.
so there were I think it was there was a bit of both. No, not a bit of both. There was a bit of imposter syndrome in a big chunk of it, actually,
Okay.
because like I said, I used to rely. I really think that you, with a good team, you can deliver everything. So I was asking myself, so what is my role then? If I'm just relying on the team, what am I doing? So this was a big chunk of it, and the other part was it was honestly, I remember one moment I had we were having this amazing meeting. It was problem solving meeting, and there were over some problem we were having, and we were in the office of the VP of engineering, and there were like 16 people. Everyone was the expert on something, and every field of expertise was contributing to that issue, right? So we had the vibration, we had materials, production, everyone, no. And I looked around, and the VP of engineering was sort of doing the orchestra director of all this team, everyone playing a different voice, a different instrument, trying all together to come up with a solution that was viable for the product. And I was looking at it. I always, my goal for me was always becoming VP of engineering, of course, no, in Ferrari. And I thought to myself, if tomorrow they gave me this role, would I be worried? Honestly, the answer was not. I felt comfortable enough to take even it was a big gap for sure for me. I was from the career perspective, but it was just, let's say, ideally, if I had this possibility, would I take it? So yes, absolutely. So when you take a decision so easily, then, and it's not scary enough, then
Was it
for
too
sure there
comfortable?
is growth.
Maybe it
Too
sounded a bit
comfortable.
comfortable. Yeah, kind of too
A little
comfortable.
bit too
Yeah.
comfortable. I'm not saying easy, but
Yeah.
comfortable. Easy for sure.
Okay.
No, it's a very challenging work.
Challenging job, of course. You mentioned team a number of times around
Yeah.
building strong team, but in your mind, what made a strong team at Ferrari? And then remark, what were the pieces, the pillars that people probably want to establish when they're building out company startups? What did you find? Was it difference of opinion? Was it different perspectives? Was it communication? What were some of the key pillars that built a great team at Ferrari and even remark?
I think passion and shared vision over certain product or the company itself. I've seen, and I'm currently working with some teams in F&B. So they have the same, at least on the management level, they have the same passion and will to improve. So communication comes. I think communication is a byproduct of everything else. Meaning, if you communicate with someone that you have to communicate with, and if you don't have the right tools, then you find the tools. If you understand that communication is not happening, you will find a way to make it happening. But most of the time, communication doesn't happen because there is nothing to talk about. So the team is not structured in a way that that I need you and you need me, and therefore we need to exchange information. So I think this is a problem in communication rather than we don't have Slack or whatever tool. So one thing is making people work together and having people passionate about what they do. So engaging people and making sure that they are not there for a job, but they are there for a reason. And everyone wins when you create this kind of culture. Everyone wins. The company wins because the team is strong. The team is strong. The people, the worker, win because they don't go to work anymore. They are they wake up for a reason. You want to go to work, and
Yeah,
I think
they're
this is the
enjoying the
difference.
challenge.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
this is
enjoying
the
what they're
difference.
creating.
They want to be there. They want to
Yeah.
try. They want
It's
to
the
push
culture,
themselves.
really. It's a healthy environment of growth. Not everyone is a racehorse, of course. Not everyone will be a racehorse. So selection plays a role, of course. But you don't need only racehorses in a
You
team.
need some molitos in there too.
Yeah, you need any exactly. You need any kind of, as long as they are not pulling back, everyone can find a proper role. And so I think selection is a big part of it, but the culture that you build in your company, I think, is plays like one of the most significant role. Uh, yeah.
At Ferrari, remark, who drove the vision? Because vision is driven by generally few. And then
Yeah.
how did they encourage people to buy into the vision? Obviously, they're big. Remark would have been different, a completely different perspective, right? It's early. At a Ferrari, it's a brand that's famous around the world that everyone
It's got a
aspires.
heritage to
Yeah,
it.
it's got a big history, heritage, and a lot of detail behind it. So probably easy to get buy-in and passion around a brand like that rather than something new and innovative. Who drove the vision in both of those scenarios?
So it is Ferrari. It is easier. You just show the
Of course.
cavallino, the
Yeah,
the
yeah,
prancing
exactly.
horse, no, and then it is. But it's easy for the honestly, it's easy for the first 6 months. After 6 months, the so what I'm talking about, you have to understand now Ferrari is a very different company. Um, but back then, every team was kind of working not 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 separated in a bad way, but in a very tight knit way. We were working in a team, identifying ourselves as at least this is how I always saw myself. Maybe it's not 100% of the team players, but this is how I belong. I belong to a team. I come from sports, so for me it was very easy to think it in this way, and so the vision is driven by let's say those few roles that lead the team. So there is not is a vision within the project. No, just we are getting making people understand that not everyone may be in if you think about it, design people, the people who make it work on drawings, no, they don't necessarily get in touch with the car, and this might be you can lose the attachment to the product that you're doing. So I think one important part is to make sure that people understand what they are doing and why they are doing it. And in general, I think enthusiasm, and instead of driving the team based on pointing out the mistakes, is also celebrating the wins. I think this is although I'm not saying this is what necessarily what was happening, but if it doesn't happen outside, maybe you have to do it for yourself. For me, I enjoyed. I was building this kind of environment, trying to build this kind of environment, and I it I think it worked out okay. In Rimac was much easier, honestly, for different reasons. Because first the team was super young, so to excite a bunch of young engineers, working on a 2,000 horsepower car is not so hard.
It's probably
You know,
simple. Yeah.
it's not so hard.
They've probably got
Yeah.
more to prove as well because it's an
I'm sorry?
upstart company. They've probably got more to prove because
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
young
yes.
engineers, new company, upstart, doing something hasn't been done
Absolutely.
before, really, compared to Ferrari, where it's iterations of a
Incremental
product.
improvement. Yeah, it's different.
That is the
Or
the startup
Yeah.
mindset, no? That let's do it, let's grind and the work at night and don't stop. Honestly, this was the same mindset in Ferrari. Even though it was a big organization in the development, really the team during development was acting a little bit as a startup. I have endless, and my colleagues as well, like endless nights. And weird no weird, but very very we worked a lot to get things done, and
But it
that's
shows
that's
passion for the outcome, right? And
yeah,
passion to drive
yeah,
this and deliver the
Which,
outcome. And
in my mind, like if you're working at Porsche, it may be a bit different just because culturally as well. Italians, passion, Ferrari,
yeah, for
Germans
sure
are
it
more
is, for
to the
the
bog
good and for
standard
the bad.
procedure.
It's just different, not necessarily.
Yeah.
It wouldn't fit. It wouldn't fit my working style. I like all in. With all the, it comes with drawbacks, of course. It's
Yeah, there's positives and negatives to everything, and
yeah,
one's not better than the other. It's just different ways of
exactly. It's
doing it,
just
and you'll
different.
attract
Just
different
different.
people or different engineers to those places because that's how they operate.
Yeah, that's why we mentioned earlier, the culture. The culture is very important. You can't have someone that would expect to work as in like the way they would work in Porsche, work in Ferrari, and vice versa. They
Yeah,
don't they can be good, but they will never be great.
they won't fit in. They won't be the right
Yeah,
cultural
that
fit. It's
yeah.
the approach and is not aligned.
Yeah. I think, and that is exactly how to make people work together. It's company culture, really
Yeah,
is clear, and selecting, and that make the selection accordingly. So when I was hiring, I never cared what people could do before coming to my team, because like, what can you do if you are working already in a car company, you're coming my team, then you are not challenging yourself enough, you're looking for another job. So I didn't care about what they were doing. But I was asking what they were doing outside of the workplace. I wanted to know, do you have passions? Who are you? And because
yeah,
this way I knew that they could fit my or not my team.
yeah. It's not
And
a
then you
skills
learn on
test.
the yeah, and then you learn on the you learn how to do the job on the spot. Everybody can learn. After 6 months of doing the same things, everybody learns.
Which I think in the software space, it's a very opposite approach. Most companies are sit down for a skills test, show us how good you can code for the next 2 hours or whatever it may be. It's not
If you want people
does the
crunching
person
code,
fit or not. Like yeah, like Google and Facebook are known for these very long, heavy, hard coding tests,
Oh yeah.
not like cultural fit and then does the person work. They just want to know, can you do the code and can you solve these very difficult problems?
but you're
Do
looking
you?
at smaller teams in this world, right? Especially
Yeah,
in Rimac.
it's different.
Small
They'll
teams, you
have,
want teams that are going to collaborate and
of
evolve.
course.
Yeah, so not 10,000 plus people in an organization, but it's very different. So I
Yeah.
feel like there's a big difference there.
For sure. But do you think that things are changing now? Because with AI that can, solve
Help,
90% of the
solve.
problem,
Yeah.
do you
I don't,
think that
I'm not
this
sure. In the software side, I'm not sure because you still need to be able to understand what the AI say if it's solving a problem, creating code for you or writing an algorithm. You
yeah,
still need to have very deep knowledge to understand that has it done the right thing? Is it
yeah,
efficient or performant as well? Like if you've got experience, you can write code 1,000 different ways,
yeah,
and one change may make it take 15 minutes to operate, and another change may make it take 6 seconds. So
yeah,
the really skilled people will know that difference. The ones that aren't will just say, "Here's a solution that works."
yeah. That's true. I mean, it's different, and I mean that the skill. I think that the baseline is you have to have the minimal set of skills to apply for the job. And for sure, I was asking for that.
Of course.
If
But
you
You're not
relate
hiring
a
an
little,
accountant.
if you relate a little bit, that VP of engineering that had all these people that understood Ferrari, all the components of the cars, etc. You still have to have context of the components, especially when technology gets bigger. You got bigger pieces of technology. You need to understand how it all
Yeah,
works together, integrates. If we just get AI to do one piece of that and then it doesn't really integrate or work well, then you have problems that come out
yeah.
the other end. So you got to understand the context you're working with.
And
Otherwise,
you're
it
also
becomes a bit of hit and miss in terms of what you can
yeah,
get.
you're also not hiring like an exceptional accountant to work in the metal foundry. Like
yeah,
different skills, just because they're good
yeah,
in one thing doesn't mean they're going to be good at something else. They have to
yeah,
fit, even though they're culturally right. They still have to have the skills to be able to do the bare minimum at least.
yeah.
Mark, you mentioned
Absolutely.
some massive takeaways from Ferrari Remark. What have you taken into the world of consulting and strategy that you will lean on every day of your life for the rest of it because of the experience you had in those organizations? What do you bring to organizations now that you take away and say, okay, this is what success looks like based on that experience?
What success looks like? Um, ooh, uh, What success looks like for me is achieving your goals. So as a takeaway, one is understanding what your goals are. So it's easy.
Fair.
So we mentioned earlier. No, you can make a product 120%, 150%. Is that your goal? What is your goal? Why are you making this product? Is a science experiment, or is something you want to sell? And a successful product is not the best product. It is the product that sells the most, better than competitors, and is cheaper to make, easier to make. It has a good company culture and values, so I think what I learned and I bring to Ferrari is exactly from Ferrari is how to shape and understand the goal and how to avoid those. So you're gonna have risks and problems along the way, and I think, first of all, living a life without risks is boring, and second, is really impossible. But you want to make sure that those risks, if they become true, that their consequences don't destroy you, don't destroy the project, don't destroy the business. So, risk management, preventive risk management. So being proactive rather than reactive, chasing your goals. This is what I bring to my clients, to my partners usually, and I think is a big change and always very well appreciated, because it drives success. It really drives success.
When you come from that angle of preventive risk management, it opens up different conversations, doesn't it? And then having a set goals, because a lot of people walk in blindly. We're going to build a product for X, but what are we trying to get out of it? What's the outcome? Who are we trying to serve? Just really nutting that out and getting to detail shapes the product and how you might approach things and how you might push a position to the market. So there's a lot behind that. And I know from working around you and our conversations over the past, 6 months, 12 months where we've met, you're very detail orientated into breaking up into things into little pieces and compartments, and then how you might strategize those and building out roadmaps and plans. You can tell the audience a little bit about how you really drive. All right, we have a goal. Where do you start and how do you unpack that? Because from what I've seen, it's a low level detail is where you get to really unpack a strategy to get to a goal.
The level of detail is as low as needed to make sure that I can capture the risks. So this is, I don't go further down than that. So I think the way I always share is start from the end, because it's easier to reverse engineer what you have to do, if you know where already you want to go. So really, goal setting is such an important part of this journey. And then one of my mentors used to say, if you want to eat an elephant, you have to slice it up, and then eat one slice at a time. And so when I do this strategy or step by step roadmap, so to speak, starting from the end, I make sure that each step is something that is manageable in terms of at 360 degrees, including completing that step gives the feeling of success and reward to the team. So you want to have a step that is big enough to give you a reward, but not too big that you get lost in the details. And so step are in a timeline. I'm talking about in a timeline, and it literally is is what Google Maps does. You set your arrival point, you know where you are, and then it finds the fastest route to that point. This is exactly, and it just takes a little bit of, the question that I ask myself is, what do I need to get there? Then and then once I have this answer, then I ask myself, okay, what do I need to get there? And I go one step back, until I get to the point where I'm at now. So starting from the end till where I need to be.
It's a great way to fill in the gaps, right? In terms of who might be a question. Who might I need to get to there? Because reality is we need people and team around us. So
exactly.
Yeah. No, very, very good. Marco, been a great, fascinating episode all about Ferrari, Bugatti, Rimac, and what you've learnt in those environments. A couple of key takeaways for me. Build great team around you who've got passion and vision and drive. Know your goals, and then work your way back from there. We could probably talk on endlessly, I would say, Anthony, on different topics and specifics, but there can be lots. We'll end there. Anyone that wants to get some advice from someone like yourself that's been and walked in these sort of environments, that know there's Techdale Consulting is what you're doing. You're also advising in a couple of different projects at the moment. If you want to share a little bit of that, if you can, I'd love to just share that to the audience and we'll know a little bit more about what you're currently doing.
Yeah, mostly so first of all, thanks for inviting me. This was great. It's always a pleasure talking to you guys. What I'm doing now, I'm mostly focused. I'm based in Singapore, and I'm focusing. But I have clients in the region, including actually in New Zealand and in Australia. And my focus is in 2 or 3 main steps. One is product market fit. So if the product is not yet delivered to the market, we work to streamline the time to market and make it more cost effective. Then if you are let's say a more structured situation, maybe SME, a kind of small medium enterprise, kind of across different industries, but you want to expand your operations, mostly, especially if in Singapore you target overseas. Then operational challenges become a real problem. One thing that I say is, if for a 10 million turnover company, let's say they have 3 million burning rate a year for team and everything. In every day of delayed decision is $5,000. Every day costs you $5,000, around $5,000, which I think is unacceptable. So we work to build a framework that allows informed decisions and a proactive response to problems, rather than navigating and hoping that everything goes well. So this is what I've been doing across very numerous industries. I work with service, deep tech, automotive, F&B as well. Mostly, again, I think people make the difference. The product for me becomes secondary. I love working with people and changing, really driving change, really. So this is what I've been doing for the last 3 years.
If anyone wants to find out about Marco, Techdale Consulting, go check him out on LinkedIn. We'll share it in the show notes. Anyway, thank you again coming on and sharing some experience that's very unique in this world. Not many can say they were engineering and helping develop the LaFerrari, let's put it that way, and starting up a business like Rimac. So really, thanks for coming on and sharing such a unique experience to the audience and what you've learnt through that process. Thanks again, Marco.
Thank you for inviting, guys. Always a pleasure. Best of luck. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Yep. Thanks, Marco.